Today we're going to be covering the basics of editing and arranging audio in GarageBand. This tutorial will be useful to users if they've already recorded a vocal track, or if they already have the audio files they want to work with. Once you have your files inserted into your open project, one quick thing you want to do to optimize the workstation for handling podcasts, or any other spoken word genre for that matter, is to check the time display. Often by default, the display projects time by musical measures. So, unless you're making music, you want to adjust your time display to make sure it's projecting minutes and seconds instead. You can do this by going to the main display and by selecting the music icon, which will prompt a drop-down menu to appear. From there, select time. This impacts both the main display and the time markers featured above your audio tracks. Beyond having to make this simple tweak to the display, I hope you find that GarageBand has a user-friendly display that makes it relatively easy to edit and arrange audio files. Here, you can see that GarageBand created a new track for each individual file we dragged and dropped into the project earlier. Tracks allow for layers of audio to play simultaneously, and they also afford you the ability to compartmentalize edits to certain tracks of audio instead of the entire project. To keep track of your tracks, it's helpful to rename each layer so we can recognize what audio files it contains. You can rename tracks by clicking inside the current title once, typing your new title, and then clicking outside the text box. You can also add and delete tracks from the Track tab at the top of the screen. If you have extra tracks that you need to delete, make sure that you click and select that track before clicking Delete from the Track drop-down menu. Now let's get into a couple of basic, critical editing techniques. How you interact with your audio files depends on how you position your mouse in relation to them. If you want to reposition your file, move your cursor away from the edge and towards the middle of the file you want to move. Now, you can simply click, drag, and drop your file wherever you want it in your project. You can move the file horizontally across time and even vertically across tracks. You can even move multiple tracks simultaneously by holding down Shift. If you want to trim your file, move your cursor towards either the beginning or ending edge of your file. When you are hovering over the edge, your cursor will transform and appear as a bracket. Once it appears as a bracket, you can click and drag to trim the edge of the track and release your click when the edge is where you want it. In GarageBand, it's important to note that you can undo a trim at any time by returning to the edge you trimmed and by dragging the edge back into place. Now what I want to do with my file is delete the silence at the beginning of it. In GarageBand, each audio file contained within the tracks will display the file's wavelengths, juxtaposing silent sections with sections containing audio. Here I'm going to trim the silence at the beginning of the narration file, and then reposition it closer to the end of the intro music. So while these edits should seem simple enough, let's say there is a section of your audio file that you want to edit that isn't at the beginning or at the end of your recording, but is actually somewhere in the middle. You might be listening along to your recording and find a place where you stumble.
This is going to summon a blank workstation for your screencast. The workstation is neatly compartmentalized into subsections dedicated to certain tasks.
Here, the playhead can end up being a really handy tool. You can move the playhead manually by clicking in the time frames featured above all the audio tracks, or by clicking and dragging it by its cursor. Place the playhead at the beginning of the section you want to remove. Then, go to the File tab and select Split. You can also take the keyboard shortcut by pressing Command-T. This splits the original audio file into two distinct audio files at the location of the playhead. Now you can use the new boundaries to trim the beginning of the newly minted second section by simply clicking and dragging as we demonstrated before. You can now drag and reposition the second clip to fill the gap made by the trim section. Preview your edit and playback to see if the transition maintains a sense of continuity.
I'm going to summon a blank workstation for your screencast. The workstation is neatly compartmentalized into subsections dedicated.
If you notice you start speaking again too soon or too late, adjust your reposition. In order to maintain continuity, it's important to never leave a gap between your audio files. Always fill these gaps with background noise from your recording. This can be as simple as moving the edge of a boundary back or forward to reveal a section of background noise at the end of the first clip or at the beginning of the second clip. If this isn't possible, you can copy and paste background noise from any other part of the clip by using the Split Playhead tool I just demonstrated. Lastly, I want to quickly demonstrate how to adjust audio levels. If I play a preview at the beginning of this project, you'll notice that the intro music is much louder than the vocal recording. Today we're going to be looking at the basics of recording. For one, you can adjust the audio of the entire track by using the volume slider. If you wanted to adjust the audio level of a specific region of an audio file within the track, you can open the drop-down menu on the track and toggle the track volume option on. This will reveal the audio level for the entire track. You can click anywhere on the audio line to create anchor points, which you can then drag to create effects such as fade out or fade in. So there you have it. The basics of editing and arranging audio in GarageBand. Happy editing!